It's time to be X-23. She has some history fighting against the Sentinels, for example, in 2012 in the Avengers Academy issues, and is also in 2015 with the all-new Wolverine issue. And when she goes to fight these Sentinels, they have teamed up with Lady Deathstrike and the Deathstrike Corporation. The same corporation that has given Lady Deathstrike her adamantium improvements have also started to give adamantium improvements to the Sentinels. So they're in cahoots together. We're going to add the Deathstrike module to the Sentinels. Now that makes sense for X-23, right? Because this is her nemesis. That's why she's getting involved. And Lady Deathstrike is also X-23's nemesis from her actual deck, so we're going to have a lot of presence from Deathstrike. She's going to be essential to the story as the Sentinels themselves. Who does X-23 know that has as much beef with Lady Deathstrike and the Sentinels as X-23 does?
Holy shit.
Her dad, Wolverine's coming along. Of course, to round out this Sentinels deck, we are going to bring in the obligatory Zero Tolerance module and also Sentinel Mark V module. And finally, our standard set we're going to use is Pursued by the Past. This is the standard 3 set. If you haven't seen it before, don't worry. I'm going to make sure we understand exactly how it works as we go through the game. We are playing with 3 modules in the encounter deck instead of the recommended 2. This is definitely something you can do at home to add more story and sort of a cohesive narrative to your encounter deck. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun to create these full-blown stories with a lot of modules that work together. Let's take a look at the X-23 deck. It is basically the deck that she comes with. It's her pre-constructed deck. Obviously, I'm adding Wolverine, but I also took out just a few cards to try to beat this up a little bit. This is not going to be an easy fight versus the Sentinels. There's a legit chance we're going to lose today. Here's the cards I took out. Feel free to pause the screen if you're interested and just see the 6 cards that I took out. And they've been replaced with Suppressing Fire, Uppercut, a couple combat trainings, and of course Wolverine's getting added as well. Other than that, it's her basic pre-con deck. Let's set up the playing field. So first we'll take the hero card and she will be placed here. Of course, we start in alter ego form. And Laura Kinney does bring into play at the setup her X-23 claws. Shink! She also has an action. Either shuffle the Honey Badger ally or the Sisterly Bond event from your discard pile into your deck and then draw a card. Then if we look at the backside, we see that she has 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense. She's part of the X-Force, which is always useful. And also she has Living Weapon, which means after she takes any amount of damage, we ready her. I absolutely love it. So she'll be going right there. She starts with 10 hit points and we'll track her hit points right there. Oopsies, alter ego. Next up is the claws she comes into play with. We can exhaust them to do 2 damage to her and increase her attack. We'll just keep those right there all game. Her encounter deck will go right here, and we will use this as her discard pile. Next up is the Sentinel. Let's take a look at the Sentinel. 2 scheme, 2 attack. He comes into play with toughness, and when he's revealed, the first player searches the encounter deck and reveals Abduction Protocol side scheme. The Sentinel will go here. We'll track his hit points right here. The encounter deck will go here, and its discard pile will be right here. Notice how they're symmetrical to one another. The main scheme is going to go right here. That's Night of the Sentinels. It's going to have us reveal the Operation Zero Tolerance side scheme and the Mutants at the Mall side scheme. So both of these side schemes are out. Then Night of the Sentinels flips, and we'll take a look at that. This thing has permanent. We can never actually beat this scheme. We can just try to kill the Sentinels first. After threat is placed here, if there's 5 threat, then the top card from my deck is going to go underneath Operation Zero Tolerance. What that means is that Operation Zero Tolerance is basically capturing people. Let's take a look at Operation Zero Tolerance. Forced response. After an enemy attacks and defeats an ally, place that ally face down under this scheme. It's like they're capturing people. And not just that, but check this out. If there are 4 face down cards under this scheme, the player loses the game. Of course, 4 is 3 more than the number of players, which is 1. So rather than the normal way to lose this game, we lose if the Sentinels capture 4 people. Okay, put that right here. And if we let the Night of the Sentinels get to 5 threat, boom, they capture someone. Let's look at the next side scheme, which is Mutants at the Mall. When this is defeated, a Sentinel's gonna come out, and so too will Jubilee. It's like we save Jubilee from the Sentinels at the mall, but suddenly we have to deal with one of the Sentinels. This also has an accelerator on it, so it's definitely kind of a priority to deal with. Then finally, the Sentinel, of course, here has his when revealed ability, which is that we need to bring out Abduction Protocols. Abduction Protocols is out. It'll be right here. Let's take a look at it. The Abduction Protocols is basically like a software running in the Sentinels that's helping them abduct people. It's a crisis, so we have to deal with it right away. The player who defeats it takes 1 random set-aside captive. So you're actually going to save some captives who become your allies and start fighting alongside you. So cool. I love that story. Let's get some dice on the board. So now we know how much threat is on each plot that's going on, and then get a toughness on the Sentinel. Last but not least is our Pursued by the Past. Let's take a good look at this guy. This is permanent. It starts in game and stays in game. This is basically tracking our past catching up to us. Once there's 4 counters here, our past catches up to us, which means Deathstrike jumps into play. We're going to see a lot of Lady Deathstrike in this game. We're all set up. Let's play. And 6. I'm a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if X-23 can do this. Let's rock. Whenever I show you my hand like this, feel free to pause the screen if you want and look at it, but I won't keep it on screen very long. I'm gonna mulligan 3 cards. This is my new hand, much better. Laura Kinney flips into combat. She's ready to take down some Sentinels. X-23 dives into action with the abduction protocols and starts bashing Sentinels. She thwarts for 2, bringing this down to 2. She then uses her claws to ready herself, taking 2 damage. She then thwarts again for another 2, solving the abduction protocols. When defeated, we get a captive, and they are random and they get put into play. This is victory, so it goes in the victory display. I will keep my victory display off camera. Here's the different captives that X-23 could discover. We don't know who she's going to discover yet. We'll roll a die to decide. We get this captive, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Roll a die, it's a 7. So here's our captive. We just discovered Cannonball. Cannonball has been abducted and we saved him, so now he's going to fight for us. 1 thwart, 2 attack, and he takes -1 consequential damage after he attacks and defeats a minion. Awesome. So we're going to want to see him fight minions as much as possible. We might even just have him chill until a minion comes out. Now, let's have him do something productive now. Cannonball sees this mutants at the mall situation and just dives into action, thwarting for 1, trying to help Jubilee escape. He takes 1 consequential damage. We then play Pain Tolerance. After you play any X-23 card, you get to heal 1 damage. Fantastic. Let's pay for that with Strength, and we get to heal 1 right now, and she's up to 9. We'll then play Grim Resolve. Exhaust this card and take 1 damage to generate a resource. Okay, cool. That triggers Pain Tolerance, and I heal her again since that's another X-23 card. I'll then play Endurance. Endurance is pretty simple. We're just going to get +3 hit points. So we'll play that out into my upgrades. And we'll pay for that by tapping Grim Resolve and losing 1 hit point. We're back down to 9. But our max hit points is now 13. So I will play Regenerate Longevity. This heals a total of 4 damage from your Identity and Honey Badger. Honey Badger's not out right now, but obviously we'll just heal ourselves. And I'll pay for that with my Blood Rage. Blood Rage goes away. And we get to heal for 4. X-23 has flown into combat, saved Cannonball, healed herself up, prepped herself for combat. This is incredible. Let's ready up after an explosive first turn that we saw from X-23. Here's my hand after readying up. It's now the villain's turn. The first thing that happens is the Knight of the Sentinels goes up by 1. But wait, not only do the Sentinels make progress by 1, the mutants at the mall accelerates it up to 3. Then the Sentinel decides to attack me, and he attacks me for 2 plus whatever's here. I'm going to go ahead and defend it. I defend for 2, and it gets boosted for another 2. So 2 damage gets past my defense, and I take 2 damage. X-23, we're down to 11. However, Living Weapon does trigger because I took damage. I get to ready. That can happen once per phase, and we're in the villain phase right now. Then something bad happens. What is it? A Sentinel Mark V shows up. If targeted for elimination is attached to your identity, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, search the encounter deck and discard pile for it and reveal it. All right, we've become targeted for elimination. Targeted for elimination is something you attach to yourself, and while you're engaged with the Sentinel minion, you cannot change form. In other words, X-23 can't leave combat because she's targeted. She can't even get away. If we ever want to, we have to exhaust and deal with this problem in order to leave combat and go into alter ego. Targeted for elimination. Over to the hero phase. First, we'll attach Suppressing Fire to the minion. Suppressing Fire just makes it so that when we defeat the minion, we're going to heal 2 damage from ourselves. That attaches to the Sentinel Mark V. Then we'll play Combat Training. This is a very powerful upgrade for X-23. It's simply going to give her +1 attack. Let's put it in here amongst our other upgrades. There we go. I'll pay for that by pitching these 2 cards. X-23 will thwart for 2 onto Knight of the Sentinels, so it goes back down to 1. I'll then play Claw Mastery, and to pay for it, I'll use Grim Resolve. Grim Resolve will have me lose a health, so I'm down to 10. But then Pain Tolerance will trigger because I'm playing a identity card for X-23, and I heal back up to 11. So now what does Claw Mastery do? Until the end of the round, I get +2 attack. Now because I took damage from Grim Resolve, I do ready, and I have a 3 for attack, so I will attack Sentinel Mark 5 for 3, and then Cannonball will do another 2 damage. It's actually a total of 6 because of combat training, and Sentinel Mark 5 is toast. Suppressing Fire triggers, and I heal for 2. My max health is 13 right now, so I do go up to 13. Cannonball takes no consequential damage because that was a minion that he defeated. Let's ready up. 3, we got Wolverine, baby. To the villain phase. Knight of the Sentinels goes up, not by 1, but by 2, because we still have the mutants at the mall problem. The Sentinel then attacks me for 2. I will defend, and it gets boosted by nothing. So since it didn't do any damage to me, I don't get to ready. There's a boost effect. After this activation resolves, place 1 pursuit counter on Pursued by the Past. Our past is catching up to us. Once that reaches 4, Lady Deathstrike's gonna come to haunt us. What's the bad thing that's gonna happen? Oh no, Dark Design! Place 1 pursuit counter on Pursued by the Past and the villain schemes. This is really bad. So this goes up to 2. Something's gonna get captured into Operation Zero Tolerance right now. The villain schemes for 2 plus 3, which is 5, so that definitely clicks over. This goes up to 8, and then back down to 3 again. And this gets tucked underneath Operation Zero Tolerance. So we just lost Moment of Triumph. That was a devastating turn. Operation Zero Tolerance has captured somebody important. We need to do some serious thwarting. Cannonball decides to thwart again, taking 1 consequential damage in order to deal with the mutants at the mall. It goes down to 2. We then play Wolverine. If you haven't seen Wolverine before, you're in for a treat. My favorite ally. He has 1 thwart, 3 attack, he has piercing, and after your turn begins, you always heal 1 damage. Do you feel lucky, bub? So cool. Wolverine's on the field. I'm going to pay for him by discarding these 3 cards and using Grim Resolve. I exhaust this and get a resource, but I have to take a damage. Of course, taking a damage will ready me. X-23 then thwarts Mutants at the Mall for 2. Mutants at the Mall is now defeated. It's no longer a problem. We're going to get Jubilee. Jubilee has joined the battle. We've saved her from the mall. She goes in the victory display if she's defeated. She does not count against her ally limit, meaning we can have 4 allies out. And we can spend lightning resources to do 2 damage to enemies, which is like her using her mutant ability. All right, she has joined the fray. Jubilee, Wolverine, X-23. It's the perfect team. Jubilee will thwart for 1 on Knight of the Sentinels, putting it down to 2. Oops, I forgot. When we saved her from the mutants at the mall, we do have to get a Sentinel. Sentinel Mark 3 joins the battlefield. This is the Sentinel that was at the mall. He has some high stats and toughness, and when he's revealed, he comes out with Energy Barrier. So we'll put him here. He has toughness, and here's Energy Barrier. It gives him +2 attack, and after the attack, they always get a tough status again. So he is quite strong right now. That's a big problem. Wolverine's just going to take care of it all at once, doing 3 damage with piercing through the toughness. He has 3 hit points. It's a one-shot kill. Wolverine just smokes this guy. And Wolverine does take 2 consequential damage for having attacked. That Sentinel bites back as Wolverine hits him. Whoops, I forgot to put a consequential damage onto Jubilee. She has 1 consequential damage. I then put a puncture wound onto the Sentinel. Puncture wound is something I attach to them. They get -1 attack, and then after my phase begins, we discard this and deal 3 damage to them. So he now has a puncture wound. Puncture wound is an identity card, so it triggers my pain tolerance, and I get to heal for 1. Let's ready up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Over to the villain phase. Knight of the Sentinels goes up by only 1 this time since we defeated the problem at the mall. The Sentinel then attacks me for 1 plus whatever's here. I will defend. Hits me for a total of 3, minus my defense of 2 means only 1 goes through, so I take 1 damage down to 12. And X-23 does ready up because some damage hit her. Then something bad happens. What is it? Hack and slash. When revealed, discard 1 random card from your hand and take damage equal to its printed resources. This is Lady Deathstrike pouncing on us in the middle of our battle with the Sentinels. Lady Deathstrike is starting to have her presence. Which card will be discarded? Let's just roll a dice, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it's a 6, we'll re-roll. That's a 1. This card gets discarded. Oh no, it's my adamantium lacing! This is what X-23 definitely wanted the most. This is such a strong upgrade. We also take 8 damage from the hack and slash. Let's play our turn. At the beginning of my turn, Wolverine heals due to his X-Factor healing, up to only 1 consequential damage, and then the puncture wound triggers, doing 3 damage. Unfortunately, it's absorbed by his toughness. X-23 will thwart for 2 onto Knight of the Sentinels, getting that down to 2, or getting that down to 1. I'll then play Claw Mastery. You've seen this card before. It just gives her +2 attack. I'll pay for Claw Mastery by using Grim Resolve. Grim Resolve creates a resource. It also does a damage, but because this is an identity card, the pain tolerance heals a damage, so there'll be no damage total. Because she took damage, X-23 readies, due to Living Weapon. X-23 then attacks for a total of 4 onto the Sentinel. Wolverine then attacks for another 3. The Sentinel's down to 9. X-23 snicks her claws, which does 2 damage to herself so that she's down to 9, but she readies up because she took damage, and her attack is now 1, 2, 3, 4. She attacks for 4 on the Sentinel. He's down to 5. We then play Critical Hit. After you attack an enemy, stun it. She lands a critical hit. I'll pay for it with Genius. So he is now stunned. That was a sweet critical hit. She slashes him right in his microprocessor so he can't attack back. Whoopsies, forgot to put the consequential damage onto Wolverine. He does take 2 consequential damage from tangling with that Sentinel earlier. We then use Jubilee's action, which allows us to tap her and spend a lightning resource, which is right here, in order to do 2 damage. Jubilee zaps the Sentinel for 2. He's down to 3. I love it when Jubilee gets her hits in. She's not the strongest mutant, but she contributes. It was that way in the show and in the comic books too. And that concludes the turn. Let's ready up. This is looking juicy. To the villain phase. Over here, Knight of the Sentinels ticks up to 2. The Sentinel's no longer stunned. His healing programs repair his microchip that was damaged earlier. He's ready to attack later. And then something bad happens. Oh no, relentless robots! Sentinels were constructed solely for hunting mutants. They do not tire. They do not stop until they capture their target. So this has a hazard on it, and each player engaged with the Sentinel minion cannot thwart this scheme. Luckily there's no Sentinels out, but that hazard is a problem we have to deal with. X-23 and her team are extremely in control of the board right now. This comes in with 3 threat on it. Back to the hero phase. Super fast, let's clean up the board a little bit. That's a little more tidy. X-23 is back into combat. She's joined by Richter. Richter is our last ally counting towards our limit. 1 thwart, 2 attack, and after he attacks, we can discard the top of our deck, deal 1 damage to each minion for each resource on the discarded card. So he's another one who's good for attacking minions, so we might let him chill until we get minions out. Wolverine does heal for 1 at the beginning of our turn. I forgot to do that. His X-Factor always healing him up. The team needs to be thwarting right now. It's not super efficient, but there's just a lot of threats out there. So X-23 thwarts for 2 onto the relentless robots. This goes down to 1. Then Jubilee thwarts also. She helps take care of the problem. And the relentless robots are now solved. Working together, they've stopped the relentless robots. We then play Claw Mastery again. Claw Mastery is the card that gives us +2 attack. We're going to pay for it with Grim Resolve. Grim Resolve pays for that, but also does 1 damage to us. X-23 also readies whenever she takes damage. But then Pain Tolerance triggers because we played an identity card, and we heal back up to 9. X-23's attack is now 4, and she will finish off the Sentinel. That puts him down to 0, and we go to side 2. Let's take a look at side 2 together. He now has 1 more attack than he used to have. He's also steady. He regains toughness, and right now when this is revealed, we have to get abduction protocols again. Alright. He has toughness, and we have to find abduction protocols. Here's abduction protocols. We've seen this before. They've captured somebody, and it's a crisis, and if we save them, we get a random captive on the board. Unfortunately, our ally limit is already at its max. So let's make room for another ally. Wolverine dives into combat, doing 3 damage to Sentinel with piercing. The Sentinel normally starts at 18 health, so this puts him down to 15. Sentinel's at 15 health. But the Sentinel takes Wolverine down with him. Wolverine goes down swinging. Cannonball will thwart for 1 on the abduction protocols. He takes a consequential damage. Dealing with those abducting sentinels takes him out of the fray. And then Richter will do the same, taking a bit of damage in order to solve the abduction protocols. But now we get a random captive. Here are the captives remaining that we could have join our forces. We don't know who it's going to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. That's this card. It's Boom Boom joins the fray. Let's take a look at Boom Boom together, who joins the fight. After Boom Boom attacks an enemy, place 1 bomb counter at it. At the end of the player phase, remove all bomb counters to do 2 damage to each enemy for each bomb counter removed this way. In other words, he does area of effect damage to minions, really, is what that's good for. But X-23 shouts at Boom Boom, "Help me thwart the Knight of the Sentinels!" Boom. So Boom Boom does thwart for 1 to at least bring this down to 1. And Boom Boom takes some scratches along the way. We'll then play Regenerative Longevity. Heal a total of 4 damage from your identity and Honey Badger. That's that X Factor healing. If what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I should have Colossus level strength by now. That healing factor is the coolest mutant ability. So I have to pay for this card. I'll pay for it with combat training, tossing that. And she heals for 4. It's actually a total of 5 because of pain tolerance, but she can only go up to 13 hit points total. Let's ready up. This is still in my hand from last round, and I draw 2, 3, 4, 5. Over to the villain phase. Knight of the Sentinels goes up to 2. The Sentinel then attacks me for 3, plus whatever is in this boost card. X-23 defends for 2. And it's a total of 3 damage, putting me down to 12. I take 1 damage after my defense. But because I took damage, I'm readied. But this Sentinel Mark 6, when he helps the attack, he gets dealt to the player as a face down encounter card because I'm targeted for elimination. Remember, I'm still targeted for elimination over here. So he's dealt as a face down encounter card for me to reveal later. I then reveal myself an encounter card and we start revealing. The Sentinel Mark 6 comes out, he has Quick Strike, and attacks me for 2. I'll just take that damage this time. I'm down to 10. The bad thing that happens is Sentinel Mark II. Sentinel Mark II is weak, but if Operation Zero Tolerance is in play, which of course it is, it gets Surge. So something else bad happens now. More abduction protocols. We have to stop the abduction protocols in order to find an ally who will help us. Over to the heroes. Whoopsies, this is supposed to have 4 on it. X-23 dives into action, saving whoever is abducted. She thwarts for 2, but we're gonna play Animal Instinct. She lets her Animal Instinct take over, helping her stop the abductions. When X-23 makes a basic thwart, she gets plus X thwart, where X is her attack. Well, right now her attack is 2, so that means she's gonna thwart for a total of 4. X-23 inherited Wolverine's superhuman senses, as well as his charming personality. Awesome, so she actually thwarts for 4, which means that this is now solved. Abduction protocols goes into the victory display, and we get another ally. Who's it gonna be? This will be evens, odds. That's a 1, which is odd, so boom, Wolfsbane joins the fray. Wolfsbane is on the field. Let's take a look at Wolfsbane. What does she do? She thwarts for 1 and attacks for 2, and her attacks gain piercing. You're amazing, Wolfsbane. Welcome to the fray. Animal Instinct, when I played it, it triggers X-23's pain tolerance, so we heal for 1. Notice how X-23 doesn't care that she's targeted for elimination. She just lets herself stay targeted for elimination because she knows she can use her pain tolerance to tolerate combat indefinitely. X-23 then uses her claws. Snicked! That does 2 damage to her, so she's down to 9. And she readies herself and gets plus 2 attack. She now has an attack of 4. And she attacks the Sentinel for 4. He's down to 11. Wolfsbane then attacks for 2. He's down to 9. Our heroes don't even care about the Sentinels right now. They're going for the throat. Boom Boom also attacks. Taking a consequential damage along the way, he does 1 damage and puts a bomb counter. Here's our bomb counter on the Sentinel. Then Richter attacks for 2. Richter does 2 damage to the Sentinel. And then after Richter attacks, discard the top card of your deck, which is Honey Badger. Ironically, the first time that the most popular card in the deck makes its appearance. We do now 1 damage to each minion engaged. This Sentinel takes a damage. This Sentinel takes a damage. The team doesn't care, they're focused. Jubilee uses her superpower where you exhaust her and spend a lightning in order to do 2 damage. Sentinel's down to 4. X-23 then uses Puncture Wound. We've seen Puncture Wound before. Gives him -1 attack. When our turn begins, he takes 3 damage. Boom, there's a Puncture Wound on him, in addition to the bomb on him. He's weak. Now we get that consequential damage onto Richter. It's cool to see so many members of the X-Force working together here. And we ready up. Boom, the bomb goes off. 2 damage here. That finishes this Sentinel. He explodes. 2 more damage here. This Sentinel's half dead from the bomb. And the Sentinel's down to 2. Boom Boom has done a ton of damage, and the Puncture Wound is a death sentence onto the Sentinel. All we need to do is finish readying up and wait for that Sentinel to bleed out. Oil spilling all over the place. This goes up by 1. It's up to 3. He then attacks me for 3 plus whatever's here. I take it all. So he just hits me for 2. I'm down to 7. Oh, look at this! Just in the nick of time. Look at the boost. Attach this card to the villain. What does it do? It gives him +8 hit points. Ah! So now the Puncture Wound is actually not going to kill him. This is saving him. He's up to 10 hit points. And then something else bad happens. What is it? Oh! Learning AI. He now has Retaliate 1. The villain gains Retaliate and Scheme +1. Oh, man. Also, the Sentinel Mark 6 activates, and I forgot to do that. He attacks me for another 2, and I'll just take it on the chin. I'm down to 5. I forgot to ready up my claws. Whoopsies. And at the start of my turn, the Puncture Wound pops him, and he goes down to 7. This armor's keeping him alive, but it requires 3 lightning in order to rip it off of him. And the truth is, I do not have 3 lightning resources. I only have 1. So we're gonna have to do this the fun way. X-23, attack for 2. He's down to 5. Snicked, she pulls out her claws, doing 2 damage to herself, which readies herself and puts her attack up to 4. She attacks for 4. He's down to 1. And who should finish him off? How about good old Jubilee? Bam! We'll use her ability, her mutant ability, to do 2 damage with lightning, and the Sentinel is down to 0. Splash! The Sentinel's defeated. We did it! The Sentinel did have Retaliate due to the learning AI, and X-23 would have been down to 2. But ultimately, we put that tin can into the trash compactor. Okay, wow, that was fun. I didn't expect it to go that way. Honestly, I've lost a lot in some of my own casual play against this deck. Solo play is really difficult, honestly, and the Sentinel deck doesn't mess around. But X-23 and her allies just hack and slash them to metal bits. But yeah, if you've watched this far into the video, you're one of a very rare and few part of the community who actually watched through to the end. Thank you for being part of that community. I've really enjoyed being a part of this community. There's another YouTube channel named Web Warrior Fanatic that I've really been enjoying. I don't know the guy, so that this isn't sponsored or anything, you know, I'm not making any money, but he just put out a giveaway for Sinister Motives, which is incredible. I mean, that thing goes for like a couple $100, and I think all of us would love to have the Sinister Motives campaign. So yeah, feel free to check him out. Keep checking out everyone in the community who's making these really cool videos. I'm glad you guys are here. Thanks for being a part of it. I always make sure to ask at the end of my videos, put your ideas and suggestions for what you want to see into the comments. I'm always looking for ideas for new games to play, new scenarios, new campaigns. If there's a hero you just want to see played or some crazy matchup, let me know. So thanks a lot, guys. Take care.